The new podcast, In the Shadow of Princeton, starts as the matriarch of a prominent Princeton family is found stabbed to death in her locked basement. Investigators look from a serial attacker to her family to Princeton University students. One hot-blooded investigator sees a conspiracy. Is he way off base, or does privilege let you get away with murder? In the Shadow of Princeton is available wherever you get podcasts, or you can binge it ad-free by joining Wondery Plus in the Wondery app, Apple Podcasts, or Spotify.
The Blazers pick up a win at the Pelicans. Delano banned for league MVP. Forget Blazers MVP. All that and more here on the Blazer Focus podcast. I am Aaron Fentress. I cover the Blazers for the Oregonian and Oregon Live. And I'm joined by Craig Birnbach. Craig, it's been a minute. I was traveling last week. I went to the Sacramento game. I went to the Clippers game. Into it is ridiculous. Just say that right out. Like I'm at the age where if you hype something up, you have to double the delivery or I'm a cap on you. Because I've dealt with a lot of things in my life that were overhyped. That place was phenomenal. Jody Allen, don't remodel Moda. Just blow it up and start over and copy the blueprint. Because that place... And of course, I'm a media member, so I'm going to go straight to the media amenities. But the media dining area was insane. And they had a warning. When it got 10 minutes before tip-off, there was like you have 10 minutes till the start of the event. Please move to your seat so you don't miss a moment of action. And they did the same thing at 5 minutes. Now, that was overkill. I didn't need that because I have a timepiece on my phone. But still, it was like Jurassic Park. They spared
I don't need that because I'm a grown up and I can tell time. But still,
it was still kind of cool because you could be eating your soft serve ice cream and forget and go, oh, I better get back out there. Anyway, enough into it. It was
what's it called? The blue wall.
Yeah, they have the wall thing, which is kind of overrated maybe, but it was cute. Oh, the circular scoreboard at top.
Yeah.
Insane. And the Atlanta Falcons have the same thing. So I've seen one of those before when I covered the Seahawks, but that's just ridiculous. You can spend the whole game just looking at it like this. And they had advanced stats up there. It wasn't just shooting percentage. Okay. It was like, effective field goal percentage, all sorts of things. They had a shot chart. I was just like, wow. Oh, I better watch the game. Anyway.
So I would say that's when, the first time, in the Cowboys Stadium, now that's antiquated, and they had the largest video board ever.
Yeah.
It was hard to watch the field.
Oh, yeah. Why would you look at the field when I got the most, especially for men?
What am I doing? I'm at
men
the
are
game.
always about the big screen, right? Right? Yeah.
It's like I was on the field for LSU Ducks, and I'm like, stop looking up. You're going to get hit. You're going to get hit. You're at the game. You could have done this at home, but
exactly.
I'm glad it lived up to it. Microsoft money doing work, so that's good to know.
Anyway.
I would say the new owner has a better chance of building a new arena than Jody Allen, but still.
I sent her an email. We'll see if she responds. No, I didn't really. I was like, Jody, this place is the bomb. Replicate it. Signed, Fentress. Anyway, but, I saw the Blazers for a couple games and they came home. Okay, first of all, it's messed up to make you play the Thunder at home on a Friday night, and then the next day, Saturday, start a 4-game trip at the Suns. But anyway, what I saw on that trip, and that was a few games ago, so just briefly, is I saw a team that continued to play hard. And the Sacramento game got away from them because they just shot horribly. They shot much better at the Clippers and pulled that one out. Came home. Thunder, no chance. They played a good first half, but the Thunder are just ridiculously good. Watching them in person again, that team's going to be scary for the next 10 years.
That's a
Phoenix, of course. Yeah. Phoenix, of course. A much better team, but they, Blazers hung around. Delano Banton had 12-point quarter in that game. And then the Pelicans were without Zion and McCollum and Herb Jones and Trey Murphy and DeJounte Murray. So they were, there was no reason you should lose that game, but they needed Banton to go off in the fourth quarter with 20 points. So it's just, that's all gone on since the last time we talked, but just start with your impressions of what you see from this team so far, through 8 games. I mean, they're 3-5. I had them maybe winning 3 of 13 to start the season. They're 3-5.
So I think, look, when you win, it's better than we thought when they're better. When they're bad, they're really bad. It's like, whoa, they're bad. And look, the Phoenix game, to me, that's the best case scenario. You lost, but at least you made it fun for me at the end. You know, I mean, like you had a chance, but and I put that in. We'll talk about that later. That's the best result. So I thought they keep playing. They keep playing while the other teams stop playing or don't come to the party.
Right.
Because they're like, oh, they're going to win. I mean, the Clippers just got, they just kept thinking they were going to shift in and take it. You know what I mean? You could see it. Like, all right, I know we're a little shorthanded, but we'll win. And then you're like, oh, no. And no. I mean, Zubek makes 2 foul shots, they probably win, right? They made that terrible down the stretch, missed 2, down 1, closing seconds. And then it was just a mess at the end. It was,
right.
You're like, oh, they won. Look at that. And sure, they should have beaten that Pelicans team. That's a tanking New Orleans team at that point. Like, that's what you expect to see. And no healthy bodies. We knew the only people we knew who were playing were the guards. Everyone else is like, who that? And hey, wow, I did a who dat for New Orleans, and I didn't even mean it. That was pretty good. I'm a pro. But there's some good. The Banton thing, like, that's what I want. If I'm going to watch this team, give me something to be like, oh wow, and that was crazy. Yeah. Like, he came and scored 20 points in 10 minutes. Like, that was awesome, and it was fun. And
Casey Holdall, real quick. Casey Holdall, when he interviewed Banton after the game, said to him that was the most points ever scored by a Blazer in 12 minutes or less, I think was the stat.
I don't doubt it.
And I'm like, wait, Dame scored 70 in the game. That he didn't get 20 points and then he's 12 minutes. I think that means just if you only played 12 minutes or less, that's the most points.
Played 12 minutes, right. Yeah, but it was great. It was amazing. I mean, he was doing everything. He could score. Like, I would love to see that guy in a summer league, like, just on the beach. You know what I mean? Like, I know of guys that I went to college with that played at the University of Rhode Island. Kyle Ivey Jones, shout out Kyle Ivey Jones. Hempstead, Long Island. He broke all of Dr. J's and Al Skinner's Long Island records for scoring. He scored 109 points in, like, a summer, like, AAU game. Like, I feel like Banton could do that kind of stuff.
You want to see it? You want to see him out there playing with Billy Hoyle and Sidney Dean?
Yeah, I'm just saying.
Do you know those names? Do you know those names?
Of course I do.
Who are they?
Who'd you just say, Billy Hoyle?
Billy Hoyle and Sidney Green. Dean.
I know.
Sidney Dean. Sidney Dean.
Yeah, of course. White man
They're
can't
fictional
jump.
character. Okay, there you go.
Come on. Look who you talking to.
Hey, I'm just checking.
I didn't see the second one. I must have seen the first one 1,000 times.
I have not seen the first. I'm going to watch the first one at some point, but I kind of heard it was not very good.
The second one.
I'm sorry, yeah. I've heard it's not that great, but I'm going to watch it just because I like to compare.
We're going to Sizzler, baby. We're going to Sizzler.
We're going to Sizzler. Anyway, go ahead.
See, I was like, you were talking about Sidney Green. I'm like, Sidney Green was number 44 on the Knicks in like 1989 or something like that.
I didn't mean
94. That. Good rebounder. Nice mid-range game. But, this guy can score. My question is, like, how bad is his defense that he's not getting run? I mean, like, he's unstoppable on offense.
Okay, so last year with the Blazers, he shot 40% and 31%.
I know, but
he's not a great scorer. He's on a ridiculous tear right now, but he's never demonstrated in his NBA career that if you play him extended minutes throughout an entire game, that he's going to have high efficiency numbers. So,
but he's not afraid to shoot, no matter what.
Yeah. Well,
he shot a lot. But
that's the thing. That's the thing. Do you want him out there when he's not afraid to shoot? When you want the ball to go through Grant
yes,
I
do.
And Aiden? I don't. But in the fourth quarter, when I need a spark, and you stick him out there, and he's just slithering through the defense for these long. I mean, he's so long, and it just slithers through and just lays it up. And he's shooting a three really well. He's shooting 55% right now, but. 75% from the field. We know that can't stand, but still, he's a nice weapon to have.
That was awesome, though. I'm just saying that's what I want. Like, that made it fun to watch till the end, and you're like, no, he's not going to hit that three. Oh, he did not even hit the rim. Like, it looked fake. It went through the net, like, so perfectly. It was like the old Nerf when it went right through perfectly. It never happened. Like, I didn't go in. It was under. It was under.
I remember doing that, too.
It was so perfect. So I enjoyed that. I mean, we can break down the good and the bad, because there's still plenty of bad, but them being 3-5, playing New Orleans twice, like, that's nice. Like, they beat them twice. Once they were
lost a close game. They
were banged up, but it was, if they didn't it was an exciting end there too. You know what I mean? They had a chance. Seeing Zion spike Simons at the end, not a ton of fun, but an interesting game.
So here's the deal for me through 8 games. Other than the Warriors game, they've played solid basketball for what they have to offer. Like they just have. And they're playing hard. They're playing defense. Their defensive rating is, it's still, I think it's 21 right now or whatever. But it's less than it was last year. And offensively, 3-point shooting, it's probably going to be bad most of the season. But the last few games, they've actually done a lot better in that area. So, I think right now the season were to go this way the whole season and they lose 55 games, but they're entertaining like they have been, I think that's a successful season. And we are seeing growth from some of the young forwards. Kamara is playing very well.
Very well.
Rupert is coming off the bench and doing some nice things. Chris Murray's been, solid. So you're seeing some better. Right. And they're doing this without Shaedon. I think when Shaedon comes back, which by my calculations, he was either going to come back for that Pelicans game or at the latest the Atlanta game. Someone said the other day that it might happen in between, which would put that maybe at home against Memphis or Minnesota. He makes his return. But when you add that firepower to the lineup, they're going to be even better to watch. That said, I still think the losses are going to pile up at some point. They're kind of fortunate right now, I think, to be 3-5, but I think they're playing an entertaining brand of basketball.
To me, they don't give up. They're playing hard, and I will give Ayton and Grant credit for keeping up their energy. Double every single night for Ayton. You'd like him to maybe be more efficient offensively, and score a little bit more, but can't complain about what he's putting up.
He's not getting a ton of shots though, is he? Let me check.
No, they don't seem to. That's what I'm saying. Like it's not necessarily his fault. And no. The shots he's getting sometimes are from, way out. Like they don't run a lot for him, to go inside. I know it's not the modern NBA. It's not like there's a lot of guys posting up and hitting turnaround jumpers. But so he's been really, strong. Grant's shooting's been up and down, but he's been their best offensive player most of the time. So that's the positive, right? Simons has not been good. Even when he's scoring, he's not shooting the way you need him to shoot. So that's been that's been disappointing, for him to be shooting 31, almost 32% from 3, and he's shooting he's certain 38.5%. Like you can't. He's better than that. That's going to change,
though. That's going to change.
It's got to. I mean, it's got to. He's better than that.
Yeah.
And then the Scoot thing, we could talk a little bit about that. But Denny, I put a little list there on our little rundown. It says what's gone right, what's gone wrong. I got Denny on both. Because he's just sometimes it's been awful, right? You're like, how do you miss that layup, right? Like,
the layups he's missed at the rim they've just been incredible.
And then at the same time, you're like, holy crow, he's fast. And he got down court after blocking that shot or causing that and passed for a dunk, right? So to me, you're like, okay, that's a guy who's you want him playing. His hustle's outstanding. And I knew he was fast because you read he's fast, but man, he's fast. I mean, he's lightning fast up and down the court. He just can't shoot much worse than he's shooting right now.
34 from the field, 18 on threes. That's going to change. Even if it becomes 42-33, that's still,
I mean, he's shooting 34% from the rim. I mean, it's bad. Like right now, he is really struggling to shoot.
I wrote about him after the Clippers game, and I looked him up, and inside of 5 feet, he was shooting 42%.
Oh, I mean, I'm like, you can't.
Which is almost impossible. You're 6'9". How's that possible?
You jump above the rim. You drop it down. It seems easy. So those things, and Kamara's been really good. Really good. I think on both ends, he's still fouling too much because he's so aggressive, right? And at some point, and they're fouls. Like, how much I love Kevin Lamar. They're like, I wonder, later on, will he still get those calls? I'm like, yeah, because he's fouling. He's mostly fouling them because he's always aggressive, and that, in a way, that's fine, because in a perfect world, he's playing 25 minutes, for a team that's better, and he becomes he's not a 3-and-D guy yet, but he shoot, end a half, perfect setup from Scoot.
Kamara still?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. He's shooting 48% on threes right now.
Right. He's looking great.
And he's taken 3.5 a game, which is not a ton, but it's not like he's won a game. Of course, that's going to come down. But if he becomes legitimately consistent doing that as your fourth or fifth option, where you're not really supposed to be part of the offense, right? You're a defensive guy. But if you're wide open, stick it, then that's huge. Then you have to admit, this guy is a legit piece moving forward, which is what I felt like I needed to see first before I jump on the Kamara bandwagon. So far, he's looking pretty good. He looks
he looks better. I mean, there's no doubt. And even on the defensive end, he's still fouling, he's smarter. He's you could just tell that he's learned. He's always been super confident. So that was an issue. But look, against New Orleans, end of the half, Scoot sees him. They don't guard him. I mean, there was nowhere near him. Got on the ball, shot it in rhythm, perfect right before the buzzer. I mean, that's a beautiful thing. So I have been impressed. With Kamara. I've wanted to get excited about Scoot, but it's I get it. I mean, I get why you're playing Kamara, right? I mean, it's just he still can't shoot. And he's at 3 turnovers a game in 20 some odd minutes.
Calling it right here. He's shooting 40% from the field, which is up from 38 last year. 26% on threes, so he's below his pace from last year, 32, which beefed up a lot late last season. And he's 3 turnovers compared to 4.9 assists. Last year, he was 3.4 turnovers to 5.4 assists, and that was in only 3 more minutes. But he hasn't improved in the turnover area, nor has he improved as a shooter, even though he's coming off the bench and has less responsibility. So, look,
you just can't shoot 40%, and 25 and 26%, and be a productive NBA point guard. I mean, it's just not a real. It's not a thing.
Unless if you were getting 13 assists with 2 turnovers, then maybe you could just say don't shoot as much. But he's not even doing that. He's not even.
But also it's not 1994. I mean,
right.
I'm just saying, those things you say, show me a guard, show me someone like that. They don't exist now. Show me a star, guard that.
Well, someone like Rondo was a guy even recently who could be a great distributor and just not shoot unless he's absolutely it's wide open, and you were able to survive with that because he was such an elite playmaker. That's the comparison.
And the best defensive player in the league.
That's the other side of it. You have to be productive. Right. You have to be productive at the defensive end. You have to do a lot of things to make up for the fact that you're not going to make some threes in this day and age. And I was on the radio today with Chad Dewing, and he asked about Scoot. And my whole thing is, he has to be, in order to justify what went down last summer, he has to not just be good. He has to be an 8-time All-Star, 6-time All-NBA guy, a Hall of Famer. That's what he has to be. And that's kind of unfair. But if he's not that, then everything that went down last summer was unjustifiable. If he's just good, which I still believe he can at least be good, that's not going to justify it. So the fact that he is so far behind right now where they hoped he would be is extremely alarming. I also wrote something after the Thunder game, sort of comparing, how the Thunder have been built and how they play to what the Blazers are trying to do. And they're trying to mimic, they were trying to mimic, or not mimic, they were trying to do a lot of the things play style wise that the Thunder have been doing even before the Thunder became good. But Chauncey comes in, Dame obviously gets hurt, CJ gets traded, and then they kind of switch, right? The Blazers fell while the Thunder rose. And part of the reason why they were able to rise is because, one, they got a star in Shea, which the Blazers don't have that. And then 2, they hit on their number 2 pick with Chet Holmgren, right? Yep. So you have to hit, like you said earlier, you got to hit on those picks. And so if this number 3 pick, you not only don't hit, but it becomes a guy that's a backup player at best, that sets you back hugely, not to quote Trump. And then, so then you doubly have to hit next year. That's why tanking makes sense, because you have to find someone. And I think you said this already, that either you or someone else said this to me, that they're building around someone not on the roster yet, because there's no one on this roster that's established himself as a star. And if Scoot doesn't peak where you thought he would, you better find that guy in the next draft, because the jury's still out on Sharp, and Ant's probably never going to be a superstar.
You got 3 top 10 picks on this team in the last 3 years. Mm-hmm. And right now you don't know if any of them are difference makers. You believe Shaedon Sharpe is, but that's just belief.
Right.
And he can't stay healthy. Klingon is a 7th overall pick, and he's, 20. He's huge, but you have no idea. You have no idea. And no one thinks that draft was something to get a star. And then in the league where in the draft that there were 3 top players, that if you could get any of these 3, they would change your franchise. The other 2 have done that.
Right.
And yours has not. So, and it's not looking great. Like, it's not looking great, because this isn't a thing where they're like, he just needs more minutes and more reps and he'll raise up. They're protecting him from himself by not starting him. And the revelation that has to happen, the change that has to happen, like, I don't know if it can happen. Like, shooting, if it's not there, and it's this bad, like, they don't often change, right? And you can be...
We've seen dudes change.
Dramatically. I'm trying to think of a person that...
There's a few.
I made a list.
Yeah, I made a list. I've been waiting to sort of write a story on this and then sort of show the list. But, like, De'Aaron Fox came in bricking. Westbrook came in bricking. He never really changed as a three-pointer. Derrick Rose came in bricking. He got better. The list of point guards who've just come in bricking have gotten better. The problem is, while they were bricking, they were looking like dudes, right? They were flying up and down the court. They were being, extremely athletic and fast and quick and above the rim and just doing things that made you go, oh yeah, that guy's going to be really good if he gets his shot. Right now, Scoot's not doing really any of that and doesn't have the shooting. And so that's what's
Derrick Rose is finishing at the rim in ways that were just like electric.
Yeah, exactly. So they made up for it.
Scoot shows some stuff, but it's not, again, you've said this, that ridiculous athleticism that we thought we were going to see, we haven't.
Yeah.
Sharp,
I feel like I was lied to. Sharp, we've seen it.
That's what I'm saying. Like, Sharp tries to dunk, as we said, over a truck, right? Like, he just doesn't care. And you're like, okay, that's awesome. Or he'll do something and he might miss it, but you're like, oh my goodness. Or he does something and he makes it, and you're like, oh my goodness. It's like when Scoot comes down the lane and does dunk, like, which there's been a handful, you want to believe, but even when he gets to the rim, he's often underneath when he puts something up that's like, oh wow, that's crazy. And it went in, right? So yeah. We just got to hope that there's something there, because he's not as good as – you didn't draft him to be worse than Simons. Like, you just didn't.
Right.
I mean, and we're not – and you certainly didn't draft him to be worse than Kamara. So – and that's where you are right now. So that's where you hope. But look, he has handled it well. Like, and I think that should be mentioned.
Yes.
That he could have said, hey, I'm the 3rd overall pick. I dominated at every level. I should play. This is ridiculous. He could have been a problem, and he hasn't. He's taken it, and that's almost been ignored. That doesn't always happen. And sometimes it's not a bad thing when a guy says, play me. You know what I mean? That attitude. But at the same time, not being disruptive, being coachable, those are all good things and should give people, hope that that's the kind of guy that can improve. Like, he wants to improve. We know he works at it, So I feel that's been not talked about, the fact that that he took it in stride and there was no he hasn't shown anything but professionalism.
Right. Yeah, I've considered having that conversation with him. I haven't had it yet. I want to sort of let things breathe for a while. But like the second game of the season against the Pelicans when they lost by 2, he was 7 for 9 from the field.
Yep.
6 assists, only 3 turnovers, 15 points. I was like, wow, and he was huge in that game. And then he comes right back with 2 of 12, with 4 turnovers, 9 points, then 5 of 12, which isn't horrible. And then the turnovers come back, and then, 3 of 11 the other night. He's just so up and down. But, this is the best thing for him. And you just hope that at some point things click to the point where he can he can have more of an impact. But man, I will always lament the fact that they weren't in position to get Brandon Miller, who's injured right now. But that guy, given what they had on the roster, given what they've needed, that guy would have been, to me, a much bigger impact player than adding Scoot to a team with Dame and Ant.
Well, he does. I mean, you just have to follow him. You just social media little clips. You're like, oh, there's a, like you don't have to watch the games. You're like, oh, okay, I see that, right? And the thought was that obviously Wemby was the prize of all prizes, but for a while Scoot was the 2. Like everyone thought he was, up until very late. People were like, oh no, Scoot's going to go 2. And then all of a sudden, I don't know, like Brandon Miller, people were talking about, and you're at first you're always like, oh, they're making a mistake, everything, and they did not. They did not make a mistake. And that's a harder position to find too, and if you're a Blazer fan, that's the one that's been, the guards haven't been hard to find. It's usually easier, it's
exactly.
Too many of them at his height. So that part can be frustrating, but
there's a guard in the 2026 or 25 draft that someone was talking about could be the number 2 pick as opposed to Ace Bailey, and maybe Cooper Flagg won't be number 1 or whatever. And I just kind of moan like, good God, not another guard. And they're like, well, you got draft for need. I go, I know. So I draft for best talent, to add talent, not necessarily for need. And I agree. Like I'm not disagreeing. If you're sitting there with the second pick and the best guy on the board, is Dwayne Wade, as opposed to, taking someone that you think is just going to be average. Yeah, you take Dwayne Wade and you're redundant. But it doesn't matter. Like if that's the situation, that sucks because this team is it Dwayne Harper? Right. Looks like this guy, Dwayne Harper, might be the
Rutgers.
Guy. Yeah, but he's 6'6". He's a point guard. So imagine drafting a point guard, but at least he's 6'6".
Rutgers got two really good players. Harper, of course, is they've got NBA family, both the guys on Rutgers.
Right. So this is actually CBS's mock draft. They have Cooper Flagg, Harper, Bailey. So if you take Harper, who's a 6'6" point guard. Now, again, if it's Penny Hardaway, right, sitting there, even though you have Ant and Scoot, you're going to take Penny Hardaway, right? You just are, and you sort it out later. But I'm just saying, as long, at least he's not a small guard. But my point being is that this team needs impact at the forward position. They needed Ace Bailey. They needed Cooper Flagg.
As you
said, someone like that.
As you said, someone told you, and it wasn't me, but someone was right. This team's building around someone they don't have yet.
And none of these, who told me that? Go ahead.
But like, Scoot, you say if you're drafting,
I think it was Dwight. Go ahead.
If you're drafting that position, or you're even willing to do it, it's because Scoot's not there. But I will say this, I was thinking about this, right? Because of course, as soon as the Blazers start winning, people are like, oh no, no Cooper Flagg, right? Oh no. And I just say, like, twice. Don't get me wrong. There are things, like right now, it's a bummer that the Blazers missed out on Wemby and that they took Scoot at 3 when 1 and 2 is better. But the worst things that ever happened to the Blazers in the lottery is that they picked above the guys they should have picked. Right?
Right.
Now, I don't know. Maybe the Bulls still take Michael Jordan ahead of Bowie. But we don't know. But the best thing that could have happened then is that the Blazers would have been knocked down one. The second worst thing to ever happen to the Blazers in the lottery is they picked Durant. Oh, I mean, they didn't pick Durant. They picked Odin over Durant. The best thing that could happen there is that the Sonics would have drafted one, and they would have taken Odin. Now, maybe they would have taken Durant then too. But I'm just saying, like, maybe Bailey or Harper are the Jordans and the Durants in the draft. I mean,
Flag is the Odin
and Flag's the Bowie or the Odin. I'm just saying, like, we love to be able to say, like, oh, you're ruining it. But really, the worst things that happened to the Blazers that they got the higher picks. So, and right now, Sharp is was not a top three, and he looks like the best of them. So,
facts.
You got to be careful what you wish for. And I haven't seen enough of it. But I was just thinking about that today. I'm like, you know what? They got one, and that was the greatest moment. Like when they got to, the number one pick with Odin and Durant. And I watched Durant the other night, and like, this guy has torn his Achilles. He's now on the fall, like, he's old for the NBA. And he's still by far the best player on this court right now. And he's toying with people. And good for Greg Oden. He's an assistant coach in college. You know what I mean? Like, and he's been out of the NBA for ever now. And obviously Sam Bowie's career, I always say, a solid career, but he's not Michael Jordan. So I don't know.
So there's Edgecombe, who's predicted to be the fourth pick. He's a shooting guard, and then Nolan Traore out of France, who's a 6'4" point guard. So 3 of the top 5 are guards, 2 are forwards. So yeah, the Blazers, if they finish in the top 5, they have a 60% chance of maybe landing another guard. But hey, they're talent acquisition mode, so it doesn't matter. All right, so you have here, is winning really losing? Speaking of the draft. Okay, I'm going to go first on this. I think winning, when you have an opportunity to win, is always good because you're still building a culture and building attitude. And you want to be able to demonstrate, hey, look what we did right, and it ended in a win. Because you are just going to have too many opportunities where you can do everything right, and it's not going to matter because the other team is just flat out better, like with the Thunder, like with Minnesota coming up, right? So the fact that the Pelicans were down, you better win that game. You lose that game, that hurts morale, I think. Like, man, we couldn't beat them without 5 of their best players. So I think that win was good because it gives them something to be excited about. Because and maybe winning it at San Antonio on Thursday, that's okay too, I think, if that happens. Because after that, you got at Minnesota, Memphis, Minnesota, right? Then Atlanta, which you can maybe win. And then at OKC, then twice at Houston, Memphis, Indiana, back home for Sacramento, Dallas. I mean, there's so many L's out there waiting for this team. So for me, wherever you can pick up a win to just help keep people happy and excited about doing the right things is a good thing as long as you only win 57 times. Right now they're on pace. They're on pace. If you only win 25 times, so you lose at least 57. Right now they're on pace to win 30.
Right. Even at 3 and 5, you can't get too excited, right? Like that's 30 and 80. You know, like it's not. Right. I mean, 30 and 50. You're not. I agree. And I also think right now, you're gonna get rid of some of your best players by the end of this year. So let's just be honest. I mean, why would you not? Like, why would you keep them? Why would you keep Grant? Like, I have no understanding of that. Like, if you could get stuff, you got to. And so.
You want to know what I've been told about Grant? Here's the deal. This is what I was told. That, yes, if they get some amazing deal for Grant or anyone, right, they're going to pull the trigger. If they don't get an amazing deal, they're not going to dump Grant because they believe that having someone like him around helps the bigger picture cause in terms of having a veteran guy, and that if you draft Cooper Flagg or Ace Bailey and they become instant impact, and Ant and Sharp and Klingon all grow, all of a sudden you're like you do what the Thunder did, where they went from 20 wins to 24 to 40. And then you have someone like Grant, like, okay, we're ready to win now. And you have someone like Grant as opposed to chasing someone like Grant. And they believe he's going to age well. I see your face. But again, we can understand the nuance. I'm not saying someone calls and offers you 2 first-round picks or even 1 first-round pick, and you say, no, we want Grant for our future. I'm saying you just don't go out and just dump him because he's 30. You keep him around because he's such a positive presence on the team. Go ahead. I'll sit back while you rip that apart.
Say to that is, what's he make? $50 million a year? I mean,
no,
like
30.
I know. I mean, he makes $30 million a year.
Nothing. Chump change.
But it's a long contract.
3 years after this year. Not that bad.
Right. That's a long contract. So that might be hard to deal. But here's what you can do when you get Cooper Flagg. And if you have traded Grant for an asset, like a first-round draft pick of any kind, you can sign a worse veteran for less money on a short-term deal to be that veteran guy that is also willing to not play. Because if you have Denny, Flagg in your dream world, and Grant, like one of them can't start.
Denny's coming off the bench, and so is Kamara.
Okay, well then he hasn't worked out that great.
Who, Denny?
Denny. I mean, the hope is that he's a starter. That's why that's what you told us, right? So I'm just saying, like, you don't need Jeremy Grant to give you his. I mean, I like Jeremy Grant. I think he's probably a great teammate and a great veteran. Here's what he doesn't have: experience winning.
That's not true. He won with OKC. He won with OKC.
He was at OKC for how long?
But they won with him. Yeah, they did well.
He got a ring?
You said, come on.
He's been on more losing teams than winning now.
He has to have a ring now.
I'm just saying, like, come on. He's not a traditional winning team. It's not his fault.
Wait a minute. Hold on a second. He started for the OKC team in 18-19 that went 49-33.
Whoa, that's a great. And then after that,
what you? So he has to be on like a 60-win team, and then he went to Denver.
I'm just saying that you got Ayton. Ayton's been on way better
Denver,
teams,
and they went to the playoffs as well. 3 straight years with him. So he's been on playoff teams.
He's not Robert Horry, is what I'm saying. Like, I'm just saying,
he's better than Robert Horry.
Robert Horry's got 5 rings, and that's the guy that you could. I'm just saying, like, the veteran presence.
First of all, he has 7 rings. Second of all, he was a role player. Come on.
I'm just saying, like, you can find veterans that can fill the void of showing the young guy how to play.
Okay, right. You said if they can get a first-round pick for him,
yes,
trade him in the sign of it. I already said to you, if you can get some assets for him, fine, but they're not going to just trade him to trade him. That's what I'm saying, because they do find value in him.
I'm not saying trade him for like you just did, where you had you got Denny, so that's okay. When you traded out
Malcolm
Brogdon, who we all thought was going to bring back first round draft picks, right? So, but I can't imagine that you would even think about. I mean, Jeremy Grant's worth the first round draft pick. You know what I mean? Like, to me, of course. I mean, you're not going to get – it's going to be a team contending. The only people who are going to want Jeremy Grant is a team that's contending,
right,
or really, really close and is doing what you're saying. Like, I'm trying to think, maybe the Rockets, I'm just saying they got young forwards. They're not going to win a title, but maybe they want a veteran. That's not going to happen. But no, it's going to be a veteran, a team looking for a veteran that can play defense and score. Yeah. And be a good teammate. And they're willing to go for it. at the end, maybe that's a Denver. You know what I mean? Like, who might need
it's a Milwaukee.
Maybe.
Milwaukee
I say contender.
Well, I mean, that
right
team
now,
should be a contender with those two guys.
Sure. But, I mean, I don't think. Do they have anything left? They gave a lot up for Dame.
In a perfect world, Grant goes to a team where he's helping a team win. I hate to see guys over 30 languish on bad teams. It just drives me nuts, especially when they're good, which is one of the reasons why I was hoping to see Dame get traded. So yeah, if you can move him, get back even a first round pick in this upcoming draft, which, if it's the 23rd pick, if this is such a great draft, that's a great asset.
Sure.
And then you clear the way to start Kamara at the 4, Shaden at the 2. With Denny at the 4,
3.
Kamara at the 3, and Shaden at the 2. And losing Grant is going to help you absolutely tank, which means you're going to add one of the forwards you want, who's going to end up becoming a starter in that trifecta of forwards, and you move forward with that. So that's the best case scenario for everyone involved. I love Jeremy Grant. I love covering him. He's a great guy, but he's just wasting his time in Portland.
Right. And he wants to win too. I mean, he doesn't, right. I mean, like I'm not, none of this is disrespectful. I think he's a really good player. I think he's worth a first round draft pick. It'd be hard for me to believe that you can't get a first round draft pick for a 30-year-old Jeremy Grant with a contract that you're saying isn't that terrible anymore. I mean, if you're in a 3-year window, he's in a 3-year window, right? I mean, he keeps himself in good shape. He's not, he does look like a player that would age well. He has been mostly healthy throughout his career. So I just kind of think that is not a high expectation to think that Jeremy Grant could get traded for a first round draft pick for a contending team. And to me, that's a best case scenario for the situation, just like you said.
Yeah, the Bucks have nothing to offer.
But
I don't think the Bucks. Jeez.
Yeah, they got nothing left. I think they're.
Holy crap. They don't have picks forever.
No, that's what I was saying.
They got to trade Giannis for like 5.
Right. Well, that's what people are talking about, right? Like suddenly build around
trade
Dame.
Giannis for 4 and trade Dame too for 2 and just start over. Jeez. Yeah. Grant's not going to the Bucks.
But you know how it is. There's ways for teams to get things done with. You don't have to have the picks. You need somebody with the picks, right? Like you can make 3-way, deals. But no, I don't think it's going to be. It'd be hard for it to be the Bucks. But I haven't looked at Denver enough. But Denver's, that's a team that maybe they could. And it all depends on injuries too, right? Who goes down, and where are they? Where are they with those injuries? But I want him to play really well. The better he plays, the better, he becomes as a trade asset. So.
Very true.
I'm down with that. But I mean, look, I will say this: after 8 games, with no Sharp, I feel like the only real disappointment is that Scoot can't shoot. You know what I mean? Like, because it's not everything else he's doing and the turnovers. But you know what? You could deal with turnovers, as you said. That is a thing that'll work itself out. But everything else, though, I mean, Kamara's looked really good. Murray's looked serviceable, which is fine. And now, they got another center. He didn't play, but Robert Johnson's back, right?
Robert Williams.
Who's Robert Johnson? Robert Williams back. He just didn't play last night, so I'm interested to see him because that's another guy. If he could be healthy, he's definitely a guy the teams want with his defensive tenacity. And now they're going to rattle off and go 1-8, and we're going to come back and be like, well.
Yeah, it could get ugly.
That's what you could expect.
All right. Well, anything else?
No, I think we're good. We got a couple, they got a few days of rest, and we some stuff going on, and we'll come back.
In the world.
In the world. We'll come back.
All right. Well, thanks for listening to the Blazer Focus podcast. I'm Aaron Fentress. He's Craig Birnbach, and we will be back sooner rather than later and update you on the progress of this rebuilding adventure. Peace.